Hi, I'm Metta Spencer. And right now, as I look up at my TV screen, I see Joe Biden on the Capitol steps having been sworn in. And we've had the benediction, and they're about to leave. So we now have some inspirational words having been spoken in not only his speech, but a lot of other speeches, including the poem by a young girl. And so this is a time for a lot of people to be remotivating ourselves and introducing each other as new officials and new contributors. And since they're doing that in the US, I think this is a good day for us to do it here in Toronto. So I want to share with you a little bit about Project Save the World and introduce at least a couple or three people from the team. Project Save the World has been around a couple of years, and we've just been working to set our website up. It's a lot of work to create a really fine website. And my assistant, Ken Simons, has been doing that. Here's Ken. I want everybody to get to know Ken, who's worked for me for 25 years or so, haven't you? How long's it been, Ken?
Yeah, just under 25 years.
Yeah. It's been a wonderful assistant. And Ken used to be the editor of Peace News in London, right?
Yeah.
In England, and but he brought his considerable talents to work on Peace Magazine all these years, and has been really a wonderful asset and big help and friend. So he's certainly still doing very helpful things by creating this website, which is called tosavetheworld.ca. And we want that to be a meeting place for people all over the world who are activists working against some of the major global threats to humankind. We need a place where activists can get together and share ideas and have evidence that we're all on the same team working together when we do our separate specialties. So I want to thank Ken, and he's really been the managing editor of Peace Magazine. And Peace Magazine is, of course, the sponsor, let's say, of Project Save the World. Peace Magazine has been around since, I guess, 1983. We started as Peace Calendar, a tabloid newspaper, and became a magazine and still published quarterly. So you can see the archive of all of the previous articles over the years at our website, peacemagazine.org. That's peacemagazine, like one word.org. If you go there, you can read a huge number of articles that people have contributed over the years. What do you have to say about yourself, Ken? You want to share something about your own feelings about having worked for Peace Magazine and so much of a contribution?
Well, I should note that the actual number of articles that are online is 2,800.
Wow.
Now, some of those are sort of practical things like the puzzle page and stuff like that. But yeah, no, a lot of work there by everybody. And I'm really glad that we are able to keep that safe and accessible for people. I should also mention that Peace Magazine will be in a digital version on these two different platforms. We already have digital production for EBSCO, which is how do you describe EBSCO?
Oh boy, I don't know. What's a word for something like that? I'm not sure.
Anyway.
It's a subscription service. Would you call it?
Yeah, it's a subscription service in general. That's right. Yes, but they've expanded into
a research database.
Sort of. Yeah.
That's how they describe themselves. A research database for e-journals.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
And magazines.
Anyway, yes, but they help manage journals, and they now are putting us in libraries for access to the digital version of our most recent issue. And so we're also looking at PressReader, which is a mainstream source for digital documents, and where you can buy a subscription to it and have half a dozen different magazines that can call, of which we would like to be one. So we're working on that right now. Should be ready within the next few weeks, we'd imagine. But yes.
What you'll get if you subscribe to the digital version. We should say that the paper version will go on being published, of course. Yeah. We can't expect people in other countries to subscribe in any large numbers because sending a paper magazine is slow and expensive and not really reasonable. It's much more effective to simply send a PDF. And that's why we're going to go digital, in that you can subscribe for a lower price to a digital copy of the magazine and then either print it out yourself at home or just read it online, all right? And that's what will become available. And we hope to make it something that people in a number of different countries can have access to. One of the changes that we're making on it, and let me introduce the other team the other two people on the team before I go on to any details about the magazine. Adam Wynne is my additional assistant. Ken has worked for me a long time, but he has many other obligations now. And Adam was a student of mine a couple of years ago, or 4 or 5 years ago, really now, when I was teaching a course called Public Health in a Nuclear Age at the University of Toronto. And I'm, by the way, a retired sociology professor at U of T, and I ran a peace studies program at the Mississauga campus until I retired 22 years ago or so, I think. So Adam, say hello.
Hi, good to be on the show today.
Yeah.
I'm normally behind the scenes.
Yeah, Adam does technical things for me, but he does a lot of other things. I'm old, and he comes to my house and he takes out my garbage now and then, and fixes pieces of tape of cord down to the carpet so I don't trip. And he's very solicitous and generous and kind with his time and looks after me. So it's if you've got to be an old lady, you're really lucky if you have a guy like Adam in your life. This
is alongside the research tasks and stuff like that, but it's a very interesting project. Yes.
Well, he certainly is doing all kinds of technical things and handles. If I have a glitch in my Zoom programming, or if I need some help, I either call Ken or I call Adam, and we usually talk for about an hour every weekday at 4:00 by Zoom, because there's so many things that we need to, bugs that we need to work out. So Adam is very, very helpful and is handling the mailing lists, and he does all kinds of technical things. So thank you very much, Adam. Appreciate that. And here is my dear old friend, Subir Guin. Subir has been on the editorial committee of the magazine for, 25 years, or how long would you say, Subir? Sometimes off and on, but mostly pretty consistent. When did you get on the editorial group, Subir?
I have totally forgotten. It's been many years, that's all I can say. Right. But it's been such a pleasure that I think it's been part of my life.
Well, we used to have meetings here in my living room around my dining table, and people would read the papers together and comment on them and decide which ones submissions we wanted to use in the next issue of the magazine. But with COVID, we've been meeting by Zoom. And, I think in some ways it actually works better, because I can send people the papers in advance, they read them. And then when we get together, we don't have to be quiet, sitting and reading we can talk. So in some ways, it's desirable, but it is nice if we get together and can have a glass of wine together too. So when the pandemic is over, I expect we'll go back to regular editorial meetings. Let me tell you about some of the other people. We have a steering committee for Project Save the World. And I should say that Project Save the World is an offshoot of Peace Magazine. And here comes Adele Buckley. And I was about to say that Adele Buckley is on the steering committee when she gets her face up on my screen. Hello, Adele. Hi, Adele. I'm about to introduce the people on the steering committee, but at least identifying who else is there. Once a month, we have a Zoom meeting of the steering committee who advise me about what kinds of things we should be doing as Project Save the World. And Adele Buckley is a scientist, a physicist, an engineer, and a good friend, a loyal and dear friend, who's I go to her when I get stuck with, moral problems or any number of things. Say hello, Adele.
Hello. I'm glad to be with you, but I I must say, finding the link to your meeting has been a challenge. I think it needs to be maybe publicized on the website or something.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Publicized
really.
on the website for people to come to the meeting. Well, we'll have to figure that out. I'm not quite sure what to do. Anyway, I love this fake office of yours. I can't help commenting on it because I know that you put it up because you think your own office is messy. And I think, oh God, everybody's office is messy. And you have this amazing office that is a green screen. Sometimes you put up a different office that it has couches and it's also looks totally antiseptic, like you've gone around with Lysol before showing up.
Yeah.
Okay, so anyway, we have a meeting every month by Zoom, and the other people on the steering committee are Barbara Burkett, who's a retired dermatologist, Paul Meyer, who's a former ambassador for Canada, ambassador for disarmament, among other things, Yusur al-Bahrani, who is a journalist and is living in Yellowknife, Paul Dowsett, who is a sustainable architect, and he has a practice called Sustainable Architecture, I think, something like that. Ronald St. John, who's a physician, retired. He was, oh my goodness, what was his title? I don't know, very high level in the Canadian Public Health Service. And he was in charge of SARS when the SARS epidemic took place. As an epidemiologist and public health physician, it was his responsibility to be in charge of responding to that disaster, mainly here in Toronto. And Richard Denton, who is also a physician, a retired physician, and who is the co-chair of the International Physicians for the Prevention of Nuclear War, the North American branch. They usually have a Russian person too. And he's also very active in the Rotary Club. So he and I just did a talk show yesterday that I think it was yesterday that we will put up online shortly. Every one of our talk shows, every day lately, I run, that is every weekday, except maybe holidays. I have a show like this, only mostly I'm having a conversation with some expert about some global issue. And we put it goes live at 12:30 on our YouTube channel, which is YouTube. YouTube.com/C to save the world. When you go there, you should see either a live show, which would probably be mine, although we're going to have other people have their live shows there too, including one from the country Georgia, Tbilisi, Georgia, one of these days. Our show is from 12:30 to 1 or a little after. And then at other times around the clock, you'll see rebroadcasts of previous shows, talk shows that we've done about these serious global issues. So any time of the day or night that you go to that YouTube channel, you should be able to see some material that's relevant to either peace issues or global warming or famine, pandemics, radioactive contamination, cyber risks, or one of the social changes, domains of social change that we need to handle, governance, changes in governance, changes in civil society, or changes in the economy. And we don't do too much of those latter three, but except that we do talk about democracy quite a bit. It's being so problematic these days. And we talk about wars that take place in other countries. I've done several shows about Venezuela, for example, and the Rohingya and the Uyghurs and so on, human rights violations. So those are I've strayed away from telling you that this is the steering committee that I've introduced, and Adele is kind enough to be here as a representative of the steering committee. And Subir is here as a representative of the editorial committee. The other people on this editorial committee are Yusra Al-Bahrani. I've already mentioned her because although she's based in Yellowknife, she sometimes writes articles for us, especially about the Middle East. Stephen Riggins, who's a retired sociology professor from Memorial University in St. John's, Newfoundland. Kaushal Bhatt, who is interested in nonviolence and is from India. Jan Noel, who's a retired history professor, University of Toronto. John Bacher, who's very much an activist in especially protecting wetlands and land. He lives on the Niagara Peninsula and is concerned about the farmland there in particular. Evner Taran, who's a woman originally from Turkey with a very great interest in international affairs. And she keeps us up to date on a number of journals that she reads. And Joanna Santa Barbara, who is living now in the South Island of New Zealand. She's a retired child psychiatrist who used to live in Hamilton, Ontario. So that is our team. Who would like to share a little bit about our aspirations for the future? What you'd like for us to accomplish in the next few months? Anybody? Ken has already said something about we're going to have an online digital magazine, which then we hope will be available and of interest to people in other parts of the world. Another change that I can tell you about, unless somebody wants to interrupt me for ideas of your own, is I've gotten tired of making these darn crossword puzzles. It takes 6 or 8 hours at least to make one of those puzzles. And I've been doing it for, my God, 20 years or so, not quite sure. And I don't want to spend my time on that anymore. Although it's fun, it's a whole lot more fun to make a crossword puzzle than it is to work one. And so we're going to replace it with something called arguments and issues or something like that, where we'll ask people in other countries or around the world to tell us about disputes or controversies that they hear about in their own areas. So I know that Joanna Santa Barbara is going to be doing that for us from New Zealand, and a new woman named Elida Guerra from Peru will be writing about. She's a human rights lawyer in Peru. Will be telling us about controversies that she's heard about. So Adam and Subir, do you want to say anything about what you hope we will accomplish in the next little while?
One development that's ongoing is that we've recently begun transcribing the interviews. So there's a wonderful wealth of audio and video podcast and talk show episodes on the Project Save the World website. And these are on a diverse range of topics. We've recently begun transcribing these, so there will eventually be a written transcription of each of these episodes available for people to read, in addition to watch or listening to.
Mm-hmm. Right. In fact, we might make a plug here, a pitch for people who may want to contribute by editing those things, because when the app, the transcription app is through, there's still a lot of correction that needs to be done. Takes about an hour a piece to make these corrections, and we could certainly use some volunteers to do that, so that we can put them up in reasonably good shape. So thank you. I'm glad you mentioned that. Subir?
Well, today being such an auspicious day with the change of regime in Washington, I thought it would be appropriate for us to focus on the state of democracy around the world and where it is being threatened. There are many reasons to be concerned, and we must continue to strive to make sure that that human rights is respected, and
Absolutely.
get rid of all these dictators.
Well, you have been particularly helpful in calling attention to the problems going on in India, calling attention to Modi's deficiencies as, well, I don't know whether he's a would-be dictator or something else, but he's not exactly our ideal. And
it's an understatement.
And I might say that right now, what I'm trying to negotiate is something we talked about in our editorial meeting last night. Here's what I want to have happen, but I shouldn't announce it until I know that it will. And that is, I want to talk to Bob Ray and do a talk show with him. We have these recordings on Zoom, which we put onto our website, but we also, and on Facebook and on YouTube and on Twitter. And then we advertise them, and Adam sends out about, 5,000 posters each time there's a new show. So one person that I want to interview is Bob Ray, who is Canada's ambassador to the United Nations. And I've been on the phone this morning trying to set something up, not with him yet, but what I want to ask him about is about the status of various human rights threats in the world today, in particular 3. That is, and I want to get one of our friends and allies who's knowledgeable about each of these issues to help me do this interview, so that we ask the right questions of Bob Ray, if we can get him down to talk about it. One would be the Uyghurs, and China's abuse of the Uyghurs. And we have had several articles by Charles Burton, who is a Canadian diplomat who has lived and worked in China. In fact, he has his university degree was from China, and his home is in China, but he can't go there because he's persona non grata, being too critical of the Chinese human rights actions. But if he will help me interview Bob Ray, that would be one person. Paul Copeland, who's a Toronto lawyer and very concerned about the situation of the Rohingya in Burma and Bangladesh. And he's agreed that he will serve if Bob Ray will, and he knows Bob Ray, so that may help. And then Angel Alvarez, who is from, he was dean of a law school or something in Venezuela, and he's been living kind of as an expatriate in Canada for a number of years, and teaching now at the University of Ottawa. And he's agreed that he would like to be party to this conversation and have a discussion with Bob Ray about the situation of Venezuela. So if I can set that up, that will not only be on our talk show, and I'll try to announce it in advance so people can know to tune in live and possibly ask questions. Because if you watch a live show, you can type your question into the chat box, and Adam sits there watching the chat box. And if he sees a really juicy question, he's authorized to interrupt me on Zoom and put the question to the guest speaker. So maybe we will have conversations with Bob Ray that will enable people to call in and ask questions, not directly in person, but by the chat box. So I look forward to that, and I shouldn't announce it until I know it's going to happen, but I'm doing it anyway. Okay, so those are just some of the things that we are looking forward to. And I want to encourage everybody to use our website. It's really something that both Adam and Ken have worked on diligently for really years now. It's been a real challenge to get it going, and it's looking good, frankly. I'm proud of it. And you can go there, and there are places where well, last I heard there were 800, but I'm sure by now there are about 1,000 comments that have been posted in various ways, including sharing articles that people have read elsewhere, which they just post online, photos, and comments and responses to our talk shows. So there can be a discussion there. We have comments columns for in which we can discuss all 6 of our global threats and the enabling measures, the economic, social, societal, and governance issues. So you can go there and share your thoughts and read what other people have to say. You'll find it a really important, rich resource. How many, Adam, do you think comments do you think we've had there so far?
Upwards of probably, well, I would say between 600 and 1,000. They were some mergers of the different articles, as we previously had comments under each plank, and now they're on a more broad subject header, but the comments should still be there. But there's anywhere between 600 and 1,000, I would say. Ken,
it's over 1,000.
It's over 1,000 now.
It's over 1,000. Yes. There's a counter.
Okay. There's a counter. Okay, wonderful.
Yeah.
We also produce podcasts for from our talk shows, so that if you're out walking the dog or driving in your car and you can't watch it, so you can listen to it. So you can download it from our website or from one of the platforms, like Apple has one, and there's
iTunes. Yes.
What are the others?
They're on Libsyn, iTunes. Ken, do you know if iTunes is still a thing, or is it now Apple Music?
It's not. No. It's called Apple Podcasts.
Apple Podcasts. Okay. Yes.
Yeah.
YouTube, Libsyn, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. Are we still using Spotify?
Spotify, yes, we're on there. Yes.
Yes. Yep. Okay. Yep.
So you can download a show and listen to it while you're, out doing your gardening or whatever. And I, certainly encourage people to do that. And then if you want to come back and make comments, you go to our website, and we certainly invite you to share your own thoughts or opinions about that. In addition, we also have an events column, and I would really urge people, wherever you are in the world, to post upcoming events on that events listing. And you can, if you go there and you want to filter it, you can type in Germany, and you can find all the activities, including online activities that people have posted that are going to happen in Germany or in Peru or wherever you are. You can see but to do that, we need people to enter their stuff. So you go there and go to the website, to savetheworld.ca, and there's a button that you can click for events listings, and then a different button where you click to look at all the events that have been posted by other people. And please do use that, because it's only valuable when lots of people post their things. But then that gives us good reason to draw people in and have a look at it. So what am I leaving out? Adele, do you have any advice from the steering committee that I have not heeded properly?
Well, I'm not sure, Metta, but excuse me. I think specific issues that are Canadian have not got a lot of attention all the time. So maybe we could concentrate on a few of those. And one as we probably, this group already knows, I have a great interest in what's happening in the Arctic, and I happen to manage a Google group that discusses Arctic security in all its various forms. Anybody wants to join, please let me know, or just go to the project, which you see on pugwashgroup.ca. So I think that could be helpful in the podcasts. I know that Metta already has podcasts on this topic, but there could be more. What is happening in the Arctic? Well, even the Antarctic, but especially Arctic, because we are very close to it, and Canada is one of the coldest Arctic nations. Well, Russia is warmer in its Arctic than Canada is, so we're very thinly populated, and it's kind of a security issue that we should have more people there.
So you're inviting people to move to the Arctic?
Well, I'm just telling you that we, Canada, is in a relatively sort of treacherous, a weak position because our Arctic is so forbidding, if you like, as a place to settle. Therefore, we have a small population. But what goes on there has such a huge effect on everything else, and climate change, amongst other things, is an area where I pay a lot of attention. It is kind of alarming, to put it mildly. And then I have some hope that Joe Biden will do what he says, and that progress will be made at long last, because we're kind of on the brink of not being able to make progress, it being very late in the game. So a lot of things are in my mind. I don't know how it applies particularly to today's discussion, except that if we want to save the world, which we do, and that's why we gather and do all this work, is then we have to save important things that have to do with the Arctic. No, we can't save the ice, but we can maybe save some other things.
Mm-hmm. Well, and you've made a lot of contribution to that, and not only by running this listserv about the Arctic for Pugwash, but also you've been on, I think, 3 of our talk shows. And I just did another one with Ernie Regier about the Russian military in the Arctic. So we had a good conversation about that less than a week ago. I think that the whole issue, you're going to do something about cloth rates, as I understand. We had an editorial meeting last night, and Evner Tehran is sort of taking some initiative to reach out to people to get some expert commentary on the melting of the permafrost and the release of methane into the atmosphere, which is, I think, and I know you do too, one of the really most urgent and alarming tipping point possibilities for something to get out of control, where the amount of methane in the atmosphere can cause a runaway situation, exacerbating global warming. So I know that we've consulted you about how to find people who are experts on cloth rates and permafrost. We've introduced the team, and certainly invite people to watch to use the website, and to watch our new 24-hour-a-day YouTube channel, and to subscribe when it's ready, in within weeks, I think. Subscribe to Peace Magazine as a digital publication. So if you want to contact me, I'm mspencer@web.net, and you can certainly be in touch with any one of us about issues that you need to have handled. Any final words before we say goodbye?
I guess I have a final word, which probably everybody's aware, but really you should note that the TPNW Treaty on the Prohibition of Nuclear Weapons comes into force on the 22nd of January. And there are large amounts of plans for press conferences, discussions, all sorts of things around it, which are on the various listservs. And a lot of effort is being made to have the Canadian government at least have a parliamentary discussion on this topic. It's hard to say what result that will have, but all the peace groups of Canada are making a big effort to pay some attention to this. So watch for it and have a look, all of you people who are with me on this particular call.
I hope there's something on CPAC about it. But at any rate, there's a lot going on, and it's wonderful because we now have, at the same time that we have some of the worst threats about nuclear weapons in history, I mean, things are getting worse and worse, we also have promised for the first time that there will be an international law forbidding any country to have nuclear weapons. Any country that signs this thing, which unfortunately we have the challenge of getting countries to sign it, and Canada is one of the countries that hasn't yet. So we all have to roll up our sleeves and get busy, and a lot of people are doing so. All right, thank you very much, and I hope to see some of you on our show and on our website. Bye.